You start a watercolor feeling good about it, and somewhere along the way, you just keep going. One more brush stroke, one more detail, and suddenly you realize it's overworked and muddy. And the worst thing, you don't know when that happened. I've been fighting this my whole painting life. Today, while I paint this backlit beach scene, I'm going to share with you the one question I ask before each section that keeps me from ruining a painting, including the moments today where I almost do. I want to start with the clouds because they establish the mood for everything else. My color mix for that threatening storm sky is cobalt blue plus raw umber. I want it dark enough to feel dramatic without going muddy. Notice what I'm doing here. I'm testing the color on a scrap piece of paper before the color ever touches the painting. This preparation actually helps you avoid overworking on the real surface. Now I'm pre-wetting the paper. This buys me more working time, so I'm not rushing. And rushing is one of the main causes of overworking. You panic that it's drying and you go back in too soon. The cloud is a gradient, so that's how I'm going to paint it. And so as I'm working that color, it should get lighter and lighter naturally. Okay, here's the question to ask yourself as you paint. What problem am I solving? And do I know this stroke will actually solve it? That's it. One question. Watch how I apply it throughout today's demo, including the moments where I get it wrong and have to recover, because that's where the real learning is. See how this cloud is lighter than the reference? And it will dry 30 to 40% lighter than what it is now. After mixing up darker paint, I'm brushing it into the wet wash, which should be fine. But then I enter the danger zone. The additional paint isn't blending well, so I tilt the board to encourage it to move. Now, one thing you can do when you're working in clouds is you can vary the color a little bit, and that can add a little bit of life to it. It still looks just a little uneven. So naturally, I add even more paint, which makes it streak even more, which calls for more spritzing. Now you're probably thinking, Peggy, you're not taking your own advice. And you're right up to a point, but all is not lost. Yet, despite repeatedly painting, spraying, and tilting, the cloud still looks streaky. But the paint is no longer moving even though the paper's quite wet. Now I do need to take my own advice and put the brush down and hope the paint evens out as it dries. This is the hardest part for most painters. Not the brush work, but the waiting. The instinct is to keep going. If I don't stop, I'll ruin the painting. Because if I touch this wash while it's drying, I'll get a hard edge exactly where I don't want one. While the dark storm cloud is drying, I'll work on the clouds on the left. But this is also where you don't have to be perfect because they are clouds. I thought, though, it would be helpful because these railings here, they're reflecting that light. And so it's important for me to have the clouds fairly close to the way they are in the reference photo, because if I painted them very dark, the reflections on these railings wouldn't make sense. The value we're going for is what we see at the edge of this cloud. So if you look at the edge of this cloud and then in the reference photo, you can see it's a fairly similar value. It's not as dark as this, but it's not pure white. This is going on darker than I wanted, but if I fiddle too much with it now while it's drying, I'll get a hard edge. And that's how overworking starts. So I'm leaving it, even though it's not perfect. I'll adjust my mix to be more dilute for the next pass. And I need to be a little bit careful because this is starting to dry and I could get a backwash. So I'm just going to be careful and leave this till a little bit later on. After checking the value for the next section of the cloud, I'm using a large brush so I can quickly wash in color without the paper drying on me. Notice I'm not trying to match the reference photo cloud for cloud. People will understand these are clouds. Perfectionism here costs you looseness that you can't get back. So I'm keeping true to the sense of light that's in this part of the composition, but I'm not being a slave to the reference photo. Sergei Temerev is a famous watercolor artist known for his cloud paintings. I saw a video of him painting clouds once. And he painted the clouds very carefully, very deliberately, didn't rush, clearly put a lot of thought into what he was doing, studied the effect, sitting back or stepping back to see if that's what he wanted. And I thought, this is a good lesson because clouds can be really fast moving and it might leave you with the impression that somehow to capture that energy, you need to paint in a rapid manner, but I'm not convinced that that's true. Right now, these sections look like they need more value, but because they're drying and not dry, I need to wait till they're completely dry to darken them or they'll become overworked. Now for the dark shapes of the houses. Because these are backlit, the houses are essentially silhouettes. My job isn't to render every board and window, is to create a shape dark enough to make the railings and the sky read as light. I'm starting with the roof in a light burnt sienna wash, and I'm deliberately going to let it bleed into the gray of the house if that's what it wants to do. That little color of bleed where the roof meets the wall, that's fine. It actually adds life. Not every boundary in a painting needs to be a hard edge. For the house walls themselves, I'm mixing a cool blue-gray, similar colors to what I used in the sky, which will help keep the painting unified. Notice I'm painting this as one shape. House, foliage, trees, all running together in the first wash. Now, my instinct is to define everything separately. That's the perfectionism coming out in me. But I'm going to resist that and let it be one shape. I'm also doing something here called negative painting. I'm painting around the bright railings rather than masking them. The white of the paper is the railing. If you're enjoying this video and want to see the full version, check out paintingwithpeggy.com. The link is in the description below. First week is on me. Normally, I'd keep the values light, let the section dry, and go back for more value and details. But because these trees are in shadow and quite dark, I'm taking advantage of the wet paper to drop in shadow green to make those dark trees soft and melt into the shadows. Now for the beach foreground. I mixed a very dilute raw umber, almost water, light tea, and use a dry brush technique with a fully loaded brush and dragging it at such a horizontal angle so the pigment catches the texture of the paper. Those little skips of white paper left behind, that's the sunlight sparkling on the sand. You can't paint sparkle, you have to leave it. Here's where I ran into a problem. After getting the dry brush base down, I thought, this is a great opportunity to distribute the colors I used in the rest of the painting down into the sand. Burnt sienna, a little gray, a touch of raw umber, dropping them in wet into wet and let them spread. And I did that. And it looked overworked. Too busy, and it was starting to compete with the houses for attention. The whole point of the foreground in a composition like this is to support the subject, not be the subject. Dark values at the bottom edges are supposed to act like a frame, guiding the eye up towards the clouds and the houses, whatever your center of interest is. But the frame shouldn't call attention to itself. So I took a wet brush, loaded it with a little raw umber, and brushed it across the entire section. Smooth connected strokes. to calm everything down and pull it back into one unified shape. Now the beach supports the houses support the sky, and the painting had a center of interest again. If your foreground is more interesting than your subject, it's overworked. Remember this section of the sky that I wanted to paint darker, but the paint was still too damp? Now it's fully dry. I can add a second diluted layer over it. And this is a legitimate technique. Successive layers in watercolor build depth and luminosity as long as each layer is fully dry before the next one goes on. What it is not is the same as fussing at a wet wash. The paper is dry, the layer is controlled, and you can stop after one pass. Now the first layer on the houses is dry, and sure enough, it's not dark enough. But that's okay, that was by plan. The houses do need to read darker than the sky for the backlit effect to work. So I'm mixing up more gray for a second layer, and this time I wanted a touch bluer because white houses in shadow always read cool. Here's the key with second layers. Work over the whole shape, not just the light spots. If you dab in individual areas, you'll get patches surrounded by hard edges, and it'll look like that, like patchwork. So load your brush, commit to the whole area, and keep moving. Now, I'm also using the second layer to make a specific decision about edges. The roofline where it meets the sky, I want that to be a hard edge. That's the silhouette line that tells you exactly where the house ends and the sky begins. So I'm painting right up to the pencil line and stopping clean. But where the bottom of the house fades into the foliage and the beach, I want that soft. So while the wash is still wet there, I'm taking a clean, damp brush and feathering it downward. Same color, same wash, just a few strokes pulling the edge out until it disappears. Soft bottom, hard top. That combination is what gives the house shape, solidity without stiffness. I originally drew in some darker details over on the left because I like them, but looking at the painting now, I'm leaving them out. I'm not going to go back in and add those details. That could make it look overworked. The dark value of the house reads as house without them. Adding them would add marks without adding any meaning. And that's the test. When I just look at my painting as I'm sitting here, I feel like there's too much of a difference in value. It's time to assess the painting. So I'm taking it over to my easel so I can step back and look at it at a distance. At that distance, one of the cloud sections just looks too light relative to the houses, and I don't think it's creating enough contrast. So I mixed up a fresh gray, not too dark, just a second layer value, and came back in. Watch what happens though. I just messed this up. I didn't like the value, thought it was too dark, and I started to lift while the paint was drying. See what's happening at the edge here? I'm getting this dark edge. That is a sign that I'm overworking. So I'm just trying to kill those sharp edges there. I didn't want them that sharp. Well, that actually does look a lot better. Whew, that was a close one. I almost didn't recover from that. This is the point where most paintings get ruined, right at the end. How does that happen? By adding too many details. I'm looking at this and asking, does it actually need anything, or I'm just uncomfortable stopping? That one more thing feeling, that's usually where overworking starts. But honestly assessing it, I do need to add in some of the windows on the front and on the side. So the windows on the front will be a little darker than the windows on the side, and that will help add depth and perspective. I won't worry about all the details of the windows. It's just going to be a simple shape per window. And I will bring out the shadows around the railings, and that will add depth as well. I'm watching closely here because it is easy to push it too far. So at a certain point, I'm going to have to decide when this is enough. And if you take nothing else from this video, take this. Most paintings don't get ruined at the beginning. They get ruined at this point, where you start thinking, oh, I'll just add one more thing. Do I feel like doing more to this painting? I do. I see little places where I could add details, but I'm not going to do it. The painting says what I want it to say, so I'm declaring it finished. Here's what changes when you fix overworking. Your paintings not only look better, they look more confident. Not because you learned more techniques, but because you learned to stop overworking sections that were already working. It's simple, but it's not easy. You have to stop when the painting is slightly unfinished. One question for each section. That's it. And if you ever experience mud in your paintings, the next video will address that.